I wanted to ask you, what kind of opportunities for more meaningful participation can you think of for young people to refresh democracy?
Well, I love the idea of the Citizens' Assembly, and from Dublin I'm going to Wales, going to Swansea, and one of the reasons is because Wales has adopted a sort of children's assembly, young people's assembly idea. So I really think we have to create these openings for people of all ages, including children and young people, to feel as though they are debating the issues, they are having to wrestle with the trade-offs that we know so well you must in a democracy, and that they are making recommendations that are treated with respect. It doesn't mean that they will all automatically be accepted, but they will be treated with respect and serve as the basis for a debate. So I would like to see us try to find ways to do that. You know, back in the day in our country, in the early years, there were many civic groups, there were many at town halls, people would come to be heard, and that gave the average citizen a chance to have their views recognized without being full-time in politics. And I think we got away from that, unfortunately, and our civic life, there's a great sociologist at Harvard, Robert Putnam, whom some of you may have read, and his most famous work is Bowling Alone. We've gotten away from gathering even in recreational or club-like settings where people can go back and forth, agree or disagree in a respectful way. So, Mary, I would like to see all of us find ways to do more of what you're doing with the Citizen Assembly here in Ireland.
Thank you. And now I want to switch to something that I actually admired in your work as Secretary of State. You put great emphasis on the economic empowerment of women. First of all, you know, just briefly, why did you feel that was something you wanted to do? And secondly, do you think it made a difference?
Well, I do think it's made a difference, and here's why. For a long time, I've been concerned about women's rights and opportunities, and trying to think of every argument I could make to convince people in the broader society as well as in governments to take on some of the barriers that held women back. And it struck me when I was a senator back in the early aughts that we needed to make the economic argument, and a number of groups, some public, some private, began doing research. And the upshot of this was that every nation in the world would have a higher gross domestic product. In other words, their economic growth would increase if women were encouraged to enter the workforce in whatever way worked for them at different stages of their lives. And the chart was astonishing because, of course, some countries that have a great deal of obstacles to women participating in the economy, their GDP could have grown 35, 40%. But even in my country, it would have been 9%.
When was the last time you went out without being recognized? Do you remember that? Will you tell that story?
Well, there are a couple of those. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but let me tell this one, because again, early on, if you've ever been to Washington, you see where the White House is, and there's a little park in front of it called Lafayette Park, and then across the park there's a hotel called the Hay Adams, a distinguished old hotel. So again, this couldn't have been much beyond March, so we inaugurated late January, so about a month or so afterwards. And so I thought, oh, it's a beautiful, crisp day, I'm going to walk. Well, that too poses all kinds of problems. But I finally worked it through the bureaucracy that I could walk to this meeting that was being held at the Hay Adams. And I'm walking out the gate, and it used to be, you know, so much has changed after 9/11, very sadly, but it used to be that there'd be photographers there, and they would have these paper cutouts of the president and the vice president, the first lady, and you could stand there and take pictures. Some of you may have done that. So I'm walking out, and out of the corner of my eye, I see my face on top of this figure. And then I do a double take. And I'm looking, and I thought, I don't own that blazer. I don't have that skirt or those shoes. And I realized they had taken Barbara Bush's body And they didn't have a new one made yet, and they had stuck my face, and it was like, what is going on?
It has been a great pleasure to have you here in Trinity. It will be an enormous pleasure to honour you this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.